Stock Corner here, August 10th, 2026. Again, cruising right on through. Man, time is just going pretty fast here. I don't know about the rest of you, but sure seems to cruise right along here. Notification that I'm live on YouTube. I'll turn the sound off. How's everybody doing out there? Notice that there's not a whole lot of people on right now. A couple people over here on Telegram. Seriously Sarcastic JPC5, Jimmy VHD, Prayer Warrior, good to see you. Paint Gun Spooty, good to see you. Take Back NJ1 New Jersey, maybe. Don't see anybody out here on Rumble yet. I don't see Wendy. Jax, Jacqueline, Mark, G-Man, GK50, good to see you out there on Rumble. Take Back NJ1, if you got a question or whatever there, put it in the comments under that Telegram post there for comments on the live tonight. You're welcome, G-Man. Out there on Rumble, thanks for all I do. Sadie Cooper out there on YouTube. Oh, let's see. Where is... This comes up. There we go. All right. Wait, was that the right one? Yeah. So I was going to kind of go over the Constitution tonight. Just kind of give a little background about some American jurisprudence on constitutional law. I see that you were on, Wendy, but I don't see you on the live. Hope you're doing okay. There's Karen out on Rumble. Computer is slow. Well, that's the fun stuff, right? Palindrome, good to see you over here on Telegram. There's Wendy. You're on your phone still? Okay. How's your weather out there? Hi, Cece from Alaska. James, good to see you, brother. Right, Karen, always trying to catch up. Yeah. I know the feeling. You got a storm moving in, and you might fall asleep before the show's over? You're going to fall asleep during a storm. Okay. I don't know, again, if how many people have caught this stuff about the Federal Reserve and the IRS stuff. For those that don't know, don't remember, um, the Federal Reserve and the IRS, Trump moved them, I think it was in 2018, I believe it was 2018. Trump moved them in under the Department of Treasury. So a lot of this stuff, again, is it's all being played out right now. Okay. Hi, James Skin. Good to see you out there. No Mark yet. I don't see Mark Bond or Jacqueline. All right, thank you, Wendy, for checking out there. Audio, video. Right, especially about the IRS being fraudulent, based in Puerto Rico. Well, John Wick, there's my Patreon there. Link is down in the um, description there for link to my Patreon if you need some one-on-one time with me to do the right paperwork. That's tier 4 on Patreon. Gee, man, we federal tax. What is that? Are we supposed to pay that? No. It's starting to come out more and more of these agents, IRS agents, or that have quit or don't no longer work for the IRS, but coming out and saying, look, taxes are voluntary. So, we've all been lied to. We've been duped into believing we need to pay these taxes when we're not supposed to have any direct taxes. So, definitely bunch of fraud going on, and this is all, it's all coming to an end, folks. And I know that a lot of people are remaining skeptical, but these things take time. I mean, we're talking, this is a worldwide thing. It's not just America, right? Thank you for your question out there. Pamela Johnson says, do I think that we will be fully on the tariff system by 2028? Federal Reserve gone, IRS gone, etc. I'm pretty sure that that's coming here real soon. Now, I've heard that there's a possibility that Trump will be declaring martial law for the election, this midterm election, because of the election frauds that's being, I mean, it's fully coming out now. I can't believe so many people don't know about all this fraud going on. All caps false prophet, good to see you out there, brother. There's Mark, good to see you. Trump keeps talking about central casting and how they're all actors, and there's people out there that do those like the side-by-side comparisons of these people, and many of them, you look at their older pictures, the real people, and like Dr. Fauci, right? You look at some of the older pictures of Dr. Fauci, and then you look at these newer pictures. It's not the same guy. Even Charlie Kirk. Now, I know that's kind of a sensitive, touchy subject on Charlie Kirk, but nonetheless, it's the same. There are a crap ton of actors out there. So, I don't know what it's going to take for people to see at least that part of things, that this is all just being played out by actors. It's all just, in my mind, again, to just wake the people up to the corruption. So when this big old thing happens here, I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to be fairly difficult to do in reality, because what do we replace all of these people with? There's Jacqueline. Good to see you, Jacqueline. Let's say the military comes in and arrests all of your state legislature, most of your executive branch people, and the entire, basically, judicial branch, the bar, all of that. Then what? We got to have something to replace it with. Yeah, same thing with the IRS. They're seriously sarcastic about RICO charges against the overlords there from the IRS. But it's just one of those things where this stuff takes time, and actually, James, I'm working my butt off. I've been working on some cars for the mechanic shop over there. They're uh, fired their 2 mechanics that they had. They were able to hire 1, but yeah, I've been putting in some long hours uh, working on cars lately. So I've got one I've been working on for a couple of days, doing replacing cylinder heads, the actual heads themselves, not just the head gaskets. So yeah, replacing all sorts of stuff in there that's bad. But yeah, I just barely got cleaned up enough to come in here and sit down and do this. It's almost done. Almost done. It's just been one little thing after another. Go to put the fan clutch on, and oh, it's bad, so I got to order that. Spark plug wires are bad, so, and they're hard to find because it's on a Toyota, and it's an older 3.0 1993 T100, and they have a little bit different wires there. They're really small, and standard wires, plug wires, don't fit the cap, you know. So went through 3 different times trying to order the right wires. But yeah. Yeah, Mark, it's still really smoky over here in Idaho. It's yeah. Yeah, well, they're special wires. They're seriously sarcastic. They're even the plug part where it plugs into the cap itself. They're really small. They don't. They're not the standard size metal push-in plug part. So they're vehicle specific and even year specific, 93, 94 only. So no, no. No, we did end up finding some plugs, O'Reilly's. I don't know why they didn't just order them from there, anyways, but got them today. But too late to put them on tonight before the show. So got the fan clutch put on and the fan put on, and then it was like, yeah, I better get inside, get cleaned up, and get ready for the show tonight. But yeah, I thought about doing some videos of me working on cars, but that would have to be a totally separate page type thing. I wouldn't want to intermix uh, automotive stuff with law stuff. But yeah, I have a little bit of knowledge about cars. Well, we're dealing with a real mechanic shop over here, so We order parts sometimes from Worldpac, O'Reilly's, AutoZone, NAPA. We have a place called Fast Undercar. All of these guys deliver parts locally, right now. So for the really hard to find parts, or discontinued stuff, yeah, eBay, Rock Auto. I love Rock Auto. It's if you have time, time when your mechanic shop is of the essence. People want their car back. But back when I ran my own mechanic shop for 6 years, I told people, I said, look, I can get you a better deal on parts through Rock Auto if you can wait, 3 to 5 days. A lot of people will be, oh, I need my car as soon as possible. Well, you pay double the price for having, the access to them right now. But that's just how it is. But when you run a mechanic shop, you sit down and you order the parts, and parts are delivered, and you put the car back together, and you fix the car, and you ship it. You send it out. Hey, Doug. Good to see you, Doug, out there on YouTube. You got a bill of attainder for no driver's license. We'll go get him. Karen, out here on Rumble. Hate trying to find correct connections for car wires. Oh, yes, absolutely. Most industry standard, there's a standard size, but Toyota does a lot of, it's Japanese stuff, so they do a little bit different stuff. So, Doug, that FMCSA and the Code of Federal Regulations and all that stuff, highly recommend digging into that and, find the stuff that I found in there about how it's, what a real driver is, and how it's applicable to all of the states to regulate foreign, interstate, and intra-state commerce, and that commerce undoubtedly is traffic, by Joseph Story in his commentaries on the Constitution. And do the proper paperwork and challenge the jurisdiction, lack of personal and subject matter jurisdiction. Traffic, that's commerce. So, same thing with you, John Wick, where they pulled you over and stole your car stuff. Now, where's the evidence that you were acting in commerce, and that you're required to title and register your vehicle with the Department of Transportation? Munson 58, good to see you. Right, Mark? Gotta have at least 5 to 10 vehicles. You always have one ready to use, right? Or more to work on. Good to see you, Michelle and Jeremy, out there on YouTube. Glad you guys made it tonight. Almost got that truck put back together. Jacqueline, you had fighter jets over your house over the weekend, huh? Here's a question from Prayer Warrior over here. What do I consider to be the most reliable car brand? Toyota. Toyota and Honda, long, especially with Toyota, long-standing. This is the reason why Toyota has a high resale value. They hold their value because they're good vehicles, and they last a long time. They're very well built. I always made the joke about how the Japanese can read the little lines in between the big lines. And in the machinist mechanic realm of things, when you're talking thousandths of an inch matters. And so when you take into account metallurgy and how expansion and contraction of different metals, and you apply that mathematically to your situation and measure down to, thousandths of an inch, and you make tight tolerances and things are just well built, very well balanced, you're going to get longevity. Sorry to hear that, Karen, that your son wrecked your Toyota. I've had a few Toyotas over the years. Quantum Kid, good to see you. Says your uncle trained Delta mechanics and told me they build Toyota like airplanes. Or they make airplanes like Toyota. Oh, I'm sorry, kidding. Ram Red Bud, good to see you as well. Yeah, John Wick out on YouTube. It's this stuff's just, way out of control. These people just, and again, this is another thing I see in all these, videos, reels, shorts, and all that stuff out there. All these people are recording these traffic stops, and I think it's trying to wake the people up. Like I've just recently discovered, a few months ago now, about the FMCSA, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, and the Code of Federal Regulations. And their definitions and all of that stuff in there. It's all about commerce. The driver's license is a class A, B, and C. There's no other class of driver's license because they're all commercial driver's license. Oh, a Munzen 58. The Ford GT40 has always been one of my most favorite automobiles. Well, I actually got to drive a 2005 Ford GT. It's not the GT40, the older, 60s GT40, but it's built on the same thing. This guy had a little bit of tuning to it and had 550 horsepower. And it was down at the auto body shop, and the auto body shop guy let me take it for a test ride. Whoa, yeah. Pretty light car with 550 horsepower. That car moved. Really impressed with the car. I'd love to take that car out on a track. do some rallycross, some autocross. And like I said, Hondas are pretty good too. Uh, Kayland LX8OP out there on YouTube. You had a little Honda Civic hatchback. You bought it for $300. I know. Yeah, the $300, $500 cars are like few and far between now, but oh, Quantum Kid, your brother's got a VW Type R with 500 horsepower. Whew. Is it the VR6? Wonder what Volkswagen that actually is with 500 horsepower. Oh yeah, now we're gonna get all the gearheads coming out. Let's see, what do you got here, Mark? I have to go back and look here. Oh, there it is. 68.5 Mustang GT Fastback 428 Cobra Jet. Oh. Yeah, you know, my mom had a 67 Ford Mustang 390 4-speed on the floor. It was a little before I could remember. But that would have been a good one to have today. And I missed out on the 1970 Buick Skylark, which is basically the same thing as the Chevelle, except for this particular Buick Skylark had solid posts in between the front window and the back window, and then it had a solid frame for the doors. It came with a Posi-Track rear end, 4-barrel carburetor, standard 350, but seemed to be a little bit peppier than a stock 350. But that one was a good car, and it was supposed to be mine, and they traded it in on an '89 Toyota Camry, and I was 18. And the deal is that they were supposed to turn around and sell me the car for $500 to help build my credit, right? 3 days later, we go back to the car lot. They're like, what car? Yeah, the car was gone. Somebody knew what that car was back then and knew that it was rare, because it was a really, really rare car. I actually did get to drive it a few times before it got sold, but badass car. I really wish we had that car. The Datsun 240Z. Yeah. Those are good little cars. I think they're kind of cool looking. The older 240s, 260s, the 280s. A lot of guys like to dump a V8 in them, and they just turn into a freaking rocket. Ah, 454 and a Chevy Love. I had a 79 Chevy Love 4x4. Good little pickup. Put a Weber carburetor on it and jacked up the suspension. Made my own shackles for the rear. Welded up some shackles. Basically lifted it up about 2 inches. It was a good little pickup. There's a guy, the mechanic they hired over there, actually, he's got a diesel Chevy Love. But, yep. And now I could sit here and talk about cars all night long. I did lots and lots of car stuff. But I think we should talk about some law stuff here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over some American jurisprudence. What is a constitution? I think we have to have some basic. Come on. Why isn't it not letting me? Not letting me make it big. There we go. So this is the very, very beginning of American jurisprudence constitutional law. This is volume 16. And when I got this was back in August of 2017. It was about, I don't know, it's probably like September or October when I actually originally got it. But still good today. I mean, it's 2017. So, Section 1, the very beginning of constitutional law. What is a definition and nature of constitution and constitutional law? So, as used herein, the word constitution means a declaration of fundamental laws or principles for the government of a nation or state. Of a nation or state. Okay? Oh, good to see you, Art and Jennifer. Good to see you. Just see that you guys came in there. A constitution represents the supreme written will of the people regarding the framework for their government. It's for government. It's an instrument of government. And you know, people talk about government as in mind control. That's right. It controls the minds of those people who take the position of president or governor, because it controls their mind, the person. Okay? Where a constitution asserts a certain right or lays down a certain principle of law or procedure, it speaks for the entire people as their supreme law, and it is the paramount authority for all that is done in pursuance of its provisions. A constitution thus embodies fundamental values and articulates the citizens' common aspirations for constitutional governments and the rule of law. Now, here's the problem I have with this. They switch from the people to citizens. No, it's the people. Citizens are public servants. And the rule of law is from the common law. Remember, the Constitution is just the instrument of government. It creates our form of government. A state constitution is likewise the supreme written will of the people of a state regarding the framework for their government, and is subject only to the limitations found in the federal constitution. Although a constitution may be either written, as in the case of the United States, or unwritten, as in the case of Great Britain, the word constitution, as applied to the organization of our federal and state governments, always implies a written document which is understood to have been enacted by the direct action of the people, providing for the form of their government and defining the powers of the several departments within it, thus creating a fundamental law which is absolute and unalterable except through amendment by the people from which it emanated. Oh, so like the 14th Amendment's void for any effect, the 16th Amendment's void for any effect, the 20th Amendment is void for any effect. In fact, all of them saying that they're amendments are actually all void for any effect because there are articles in addition to an amendment to the Constitution. Constitutional law, which deals with the interpretation and construction of constitutions and the application of this fundamental law to statutes and other public acts, because of the American governmental system, occupies an extremely important position in the jurisprudence of this country, because constitutions in this country, rather than stating inflexible specific rules of conduct, contain broad principles capable of accommodating societal changes. Thus, constitutional revisions gather meaning from the experience of the people, and courts should expect modern society will mold and shape constitutional principles into new and useful forms. The problem with that is it's saying that you can change it. But up here you say no. It's absolute, unalterable. So which is it? When we're talking about fundamental principles, principles are immutable. 2 plus 2 equals 4. You're either of sound mind, possessing logic and reason, and have the ability to come to a reasonable conclusion based on reality, that 2 plus 2 equals 4 because the fundamental principles of mathematics dictate that that is the correct answer, or you are insane. You are not of sound mind. But this is one of this, yeah, again, got to understand this here. American jurisprudence is all just case law, or stare decisis, previous cases. Now, here's all the cases that were cited through that. See? All of this is cases. Marbury versus Madison. Look at that. Very first one. But all these cases. A constitution is intended to endure for ages to come and must adapt itself to a future that can only be seen dimly at all? No. If the Constitution is an instrument of government, why would it change? We don't want to change our form of government. And they don't have that power to do that. Section 2, distinction between constitutions and statutes. Now, for those out there that we've talked about this before, about how statutes are for government conduct. It's for their conduct. Statutes are not for the people. This is where it's in American jurisprudence where it specifically says the statutes are for government civil conduct. It's for them. What are you saying, James? That you lost your mind? Oh, you lost your mind and I helped locate it. Okay. So this is section 2. The Constitution differs from a statute in that a statute ordinarily provides some details of the subject of which it treats, whereas it constitutionally states broad general principles and builds a substantial foundation and general framework of the law and the government. The Constitution is the framework of the government containing the general principles upon which the government must function, intended not merely to remedy existing conditions, but to govern future contingencies. Oh, you mean like due process of law? Law of the land literally means due process of law. That's right. So, yes, in a way, the Constitution is to endure forever, but it's just broad things. But remember, Declaration of Independence, receiving their just powers under the consent of the government. This is where the Constitution delegates certain powers and over certain subjects, which we'll see here in just a second, although it details of the subject of which it treats. It is a compilation of fundamental laws of the jurisdiction and by its principles upon which the jurisdiction's government was founded. Constitution is made for the people and by the people, and is, above all, an embodiment of the will of the people, deriving its force directly from the people themselves. Statutes, by contrast, are enactments and rules for the government. Rules for the government of civil conduct, promulgated by the legislative authority of a state. So, what's going on here with all this administrative crap? The Administrative Procedures Act of I believe it was 1946, where they basically stole legislative power and delegated it to the executive agencies, and the executive agencies make their own rules, regulations, and then try to apply that to the people. That's Roman civil law, the code. But like it says in American jurisprudence here, volume 16, Constitutional Law, section 2, statutes are enactments and rules for the government of civil conduct promulgated by the legislative authority of a state. So, basically, all of this crap done by executive agency is void for any effect because they do not have legislative authority. Correct? Does everybody understand that? Stand in agreement? No, Mark, code does not codify the statutes, which I've showed that before. When we look at the legislative session laws, it says, be an enactment of the legislature of the state of Idaho to amend the Idaho Code. And what's the case there for Idaho? Dang it. Peterson versus Peterson, Idaho Supreme Court, Judge Eisman, 2014. The code is not, it's not a mere it's just a mere compilation. It is not a codification. But those codes are the billing codes. Think about it. You're in violation of this code. A bill of attainder. You've been attained to pay this bill. Those are the billing codes. But that's how Roman civil law works. Statutes are part of the common law. Oh, wait. That's right, because we're supposed to have common law of the land, and the legislatures vested with certain powers and authority over certain subject matter and personal jurisdiction over who? Public servants, not the people. You know, this is one of those questions I've always posed out there. Do we need a statute that says murder is unlawful? How about rape? How about kidnapping? Well, we'll think about what the UCC is, Mark. Uniform Commercial Code. It's Roman civil law. Now, let's go back to this here. Instead of general principles, the statute provides details of the subject of the statute. Because constitutions constitute the supreme law, they preempt contrary statutes or rules. Rules? And stand above legislative law. Thus, where a constitution speaks plainly on a particular matter, it must be given force and effect as the paramount law. And where a statute or other rule and a constitutional revision are in conflict, the constitutional revision must prevail. No, they didn't make code in Washington from day one. Remember, Idaho was born out of Washington, and Idaho wasn't done until 1881, where they implemented the code. Now, I've showed the Civil Practice Act and the Criminal Practice Act. Those are real statutes, not code. Okay? In 1864, the first legislative session, the very first thing that our temporary government, legislative body, created was the Civil Practice Act. The second thing was the Criminal Practice Act. That's the real statutes. Notice it will not mention anything about code. A real statute will not mention anything about code. It has been said that a constitution but a higher form of statutory law. Think about that. It has been said that a constitution is but a higher form of statutory law, so that, for example, the state constitution is looked to where a court is searching for statutory law on a subject, as in subject matter jurisdiction. Does the legislative branch have subject matter jurisdiction to even enact that statute? This is where Chris and I was talking about before. Is like, can you point to that emolument and grunt? Just point to it. Here's the Constitution. Point where your subject matter jurisdiction was delegated. And then while you're there, point to that personal jurisdiction. Just who does that statute apply to? But then it says, and there is no relevant statute per se. In any event, both constitutional statutory principles should be liberally construed to further the goal of allowing the people to express their will. Wrong, that's backwards. It is to be narrowly construed in favor of the government and liberally construed in favor of the people. So here's a good case, right? You know, it's already saying what it already says, but the people's constitutional standards must always prevail over the legislature's statutory standards, should the latter be lower. Statute exempting taxi cab drivers from minimum wage requirements was repealed when minimum wage amendment to the state constitution took effect, not when Supreme Court decided that the amendment impliedly repealed the statute. Supreme Court's function was to declare what the law was, not to create the law. That's right, because the judicial branch doesn't have the power to make law. So when they say they're interpreting the law, they are supposed to be interpreting whether or not the statute comes in conflict with the law. Statutes are construed to accord with constitutions, not vice versa. All right, Section 3. Characteristics of constitutions. The term constitution implies an instrument of a permanent and abiding nature. So here we go again, contradicting what was said up there in Section 2 about how, well, the Constitution be able to be changed and all. No, no, no. However, a constitution intended not merely to meet current conditions, but is also to govern future ones. That's right. The United States Constitution is said to be a law for the rulers and the people, equally in war and in peace, and to cover with its shield of protection all classes of persons at all times and under all circumstances. All classes of persons? Huh. For the rulers, we don't have rulers. We have servants. They think they're the rulers. They do not rule over us. There's no personal jurisdiction. Oh, that's some sovereign citizen stuff. You're damn right. We the people are the sovereign. You only have certain powers that have been delegated. And got to remember that the laws of nature comes first at the root of all law. You know, that life, liberty, and property. That's where we told you, no, you have no authority over our life, our liberty, and our property. None. There's no personal jurisdiction over us in the private. Although the permanent nature of a written constitution may at times seem to stand in the way of progress, its stability is intended to protect the people from frequent and violent fluctuations of public opinion. So it doesn't matter what your opinion is. The law is the law. That's why we go by the rule of law, not the rule of man. Since the state and federal constitutions are limitations on the power of the people as against the impulses of mere majorities. No, it's not limitations on the power of the people. It's limitations on the public servants and against the impulses of mere majorities. But hey, since it is recognized that the framers of a constitution cannot anticipate conditions which may arise thereafter in the progress of the nation, or establish all the law which from time to time may be necessary to conform to the changing conditions of a community, constitutions traditionally do not deal in details, but enunciate the general principles and general directions which are intended to apply to all new facts which may come into being, and which may be brought within these general principles or directions. Such generality permits flexibility in construction to meet the changing conditions of society. Again, society is government, community is the people. So you see they use the word community here, but then use the word society here. This is all bar word salad trickery crap. So here was a good one. A good constitution should be beyond the reach of temporary excitement and popular caprice or passion. It is needed for stability and steadiness. It must yield to the thought of the people, not to the whim of the people or the thought evolved in excitement or hot blood, but the sober second thought, which alone, if the government is to be safe, can be allowed efficacy. But see, the thing is it's not the people that's making these changes, it's them, the public servants, the corrupt ones. They've usurped their powers and they just have done whatever the hell they want to do. All right, section 4. This is functions or purposes of constitutions. So we're getting some very basic, foundational stuff about a constitution here, and a very clear distinction between the Constitution and statute. So the most important purpose of a constitution is to furnish the basis for the government it establishes. That is, to prescribe the permanent framework of the system of government. Assign to the different departments their respective powers and duties, and establish certain fixed first principles on which the government is founded and must function. Thus, the United States Constitution is a primer of fundamental principles for the conduct of a developing federal system rather than a manual of technical rules. No, it's more of a manual of technical rules. It has been said that the purpose of the United States Constitution was to take government off the backs of the people. Well, yeah. Put it in writing and say this is it. This is our form of government, and these certain people have certain powers. They are not our rulers, they're our servants. We require them to be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution in order to take office. So, one important function of a Constitution is to safeguard and promote the public welfare. Right, is to secure the blessings of liberty. That's the primary purpose, is to secure our rights from governmental infringement. From governmental infringement. From tyranny, from tyrants, from corruption. That's what a Constitution is for. The Supreme Court had said that the people of the United States erected their constitutions or forms of government to establish justice, to promote the general welfare, and to secure the blessings of liberty. Imagine that. Another of the great purposes of the Constitution is to preserve the rights of individual citizens by protecting their lives, liberty, and property. That's rights of man, not citizens, because those rights come from nature. All men are created free and independent. And among these rights is life, liberty, and property, or pursuit of happiness. But that's the laws of nature, or the law of nature. To this end, and in order that the constitutional system may be a government of laws and not of men, it is customary for constitutions to prescribe and limit the powers of the government, and thereby to operate as bulwarks of liberty for the protections of private rights. We're in the private. Thus, one of the primary functions of a constitution is to protect the people against arbitrary actions by their own government, or by the courts thereof. Indeed, public policy considerations cannot override constitutional mandates. So here they're admitting that its statutes are policy. Right? In their own words here. But I like that part there. One of the primary functions of the Constitution is to protect the people against arbitrary actions by their own government, or by the courts thereof. But it isn't the courts part of our government? Oh, yeah, right. How about this one? The idea of the Constitution was to withdraw certain subjects from the vicissitudes of political controversy, to place them beyond the reach of majorities and officials, and to establish them as legal principles to be applied by the courts. Oh. The government has broad powers, but the means it uses to achieve its ends must be consistent with the letter and spirit of the law or of the Constitution. Oh, yeah. the spirit of the law. A strong public desire to improve the public condition is not enough to warrant achieving the desire by a shorter cut than the constitutional way. So, again, it doesn't matter if you have a strong desire anyways. If it goes against our rights, it's unlawful and unconstitutional. Right? Plain and simple. What do you mean, Mark? No separation of private people and commercial commerce? Never separated? Are you saying that they're interdicting all commerce onto the people again? Because I got to share with you Hale versus Hinkle, because I actually have Hale versus Hinkle opened up right here. There is a very clear distinction. Page 201 at 74. Whenever an officer or employee were summoned for a court, clear distinction in this particular between an individual and a corporation, and that the latter, the corporation, has no right to refuse to submit its books and papers for examination at the suit of the state. The individual may stand upon his constitutional rights as a citizen. He is entitled to carry on his private business in his own way. His power to contract is unlimited, which also means we have the right to not contract. Okay? He owes no duty to the state or to his neighbors to divulge his business. So when that copper come, what are you doing? Where are you going? That's none of your damn business. We have no duty or obligation to any public servant, police officer, sheriff deputy, FBI, anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. Or to open his doors to an investigation. Well, I'm conducting my investigation. Well, then you need to go talk to whoever's complaining to you. Not to me. Well, we received a call. Good. Go talk to them. Take their complaint. Follow due process of law. Get them on the stand. Sworn in under oath or affirmation. Testify. Get that warrant. The Fourth Amendment requires a warrant. The common law requires a warrant. The only exception to that rule of law is for felonies and breaches of the peace, and that's it. Otherwise, you have to have a warrant. And you got to go to the judicial branch, and somebody, the injured party or parties, have to be sworn in. They got to testify under oath or affirmation. You got to lay that complaint before the court, the judicial branch. And then the judicial branch makes the determination of whether or not there's actually a cause of action, probable cause, to get a warrant. And then issue the warrant, which supposed to go to the sheriff, and then the sheriff's supposed to scrutinize that warrant to make sure that it's been lawfully obtained. That there, in the Criminal Practice Act of 1864, it specifically states that the complaint and the affidavit, because it talks about how the complainant is supposed to take the stand, be sworn in under oath, testify, and that's supposed to be reduced to writing and signed by the complainant, the injured party, the one that's been harmed. See? There's no cause of action if there's no injured party. So that's supposed to accompany the warrant so that the sheriff can verify that, yes, there was a complaint laid before the magistrate signed off on it, here's the affidavit in support, and here's the warrant. And then the warrant must state with particularity the place to be searched. Well, anywhere in the state of Idaho. That is not stating with particularity. Where? And considering the state of Idaho is a corporation, it's a fiction. It doesn't actually exist. I'm not talking about the territory of Idaho. You're talking about the corporation. But back to Hale versus Engel here. Okay, we have no duty to the state or to our neighbors to divulge our business or to open his doors to an investigation, so far as it may tend to criminate him. He owes no such duty to the state, since he receives nothing therefrom beyond the protection of his life and property. His rights are such existed by the law of the land long antecedent to the organization of the state, and can only be taken from him by due process of law and in accordance with the Constitution. Among his rights are refusal to incriminate himself in the immunity of himself and his property from arrest or seizure except under a warrant of the law. He owes nothing to the public so long as he does not trespass upon their rights. It can't be any more clear than that. Can it? That basically tells government to kick rocks no matter who you are. You have no lawful authority over the people in the private. And we don't have to answer your questions. We don't have to produce identification. So plain and simple. Everybody getting that comprehension there? But that's the law, right? Now, when we get into, the Constitution part here, I love the Article 6 part, right? They're all required to be the senators, representatives before mentioned, and the members of the several state legislatures and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. So I don't get it, how they talk about here, both of the United States and of the... What do you mean? The United States is the several states. All of the states that have united to form our Confederate Republic. Our Republican form of government is a confederacy. And our form of government has been created by Constitution. And the common law is the law. Okay? But it says they're bound to support this, not interpret it, nor subvert it. All right. So this is why when we look at the so-called Bill of Rights, which is merely declaratory of the common law, when we start with the fourth, the right of the people, to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. See, take a look at that again. And no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation. Oh, so when they say, well, I got probable cause, well, then go get a warrant. Unless it's a felony or a breach of the peace, it's an unreasonable search and seizure. You have to have a warrant. Plain and simple. But now that I've read through, State versus Clark, my Idaho case, their 2019 case, 2018, whatever it was. But more specifically, reading Blackstone's Commentaries on the Laws of England, which is the #1 go-to source that even the Supreme Court of the United States of America is citing from, #1 source on the rule of law. And why? In Book 4, Section 289, makes it very clear about making an arrest, that you cannot make an arrest without a warrant for a misdemeanor. The exception to the rule here, this is the rule of law, the Fourth Amendment. In other words, you have to have a warrant to make an arrest. That's what the Fourth Amendment is. You have to have a warrant to make an arrest. That would be unreasonable. If you don't have a warrant, it's unreasonable. Okay? The exception to that rule is for felonies and breaches of the peace. That's it. That's the exception to the rule of law. Now when we look at the fifth article, no person shall be held to answer for capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury. What? Wait a minute. Except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service, in time of war or public danger. In other words, there has to be a presentment or indictment of a grand jury. Unless you're in the military, in the militia, in actual service, in time of war or public danger. So, again, the fourth, fifth, and sixth, they all go together here, right? But like it says here, nor shall any person be subject to the same offense be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. In other words, there's no such thing as a hung jury. The jury is supposed to be either guilty or acquittal. It has to be unanimous consent of all 12. That's that beyond a reasonable doubt. You got to get all 12 to give their consent. Okay? But then it says, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. So like when they tow your car, you're going to have to pay me. You just bought that car, dude. Either you're going to buy it or you're going to prison for grand theft auto. You stole it because you sure the hell didn't follow due process of law to deprive me of my property. Now we'll move on to the 6th. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. Where does it say that we have the right to be represented by a member of the bar? It doesn't say that. It says we have the right to the assistance of counsel. These are rights. But when we look at the nature and cause, because this says in all criminal, so we already know it's criminal. What's the nature and cause? That would be, what were the actions? You know, the Fifth Amendment, talking about the right to due process of law from the Fifth Amendment is the common law process. Now, this BS 14th, that's why they keep wanting to say, well, see, notice the Bill of Rights doesn't have the 14th. It stops at the 10th. Huh. But then you look at the 7th and they say, oh, well, that's just where you have, it continues the practice from English common law of distinguishing civil claims, which must be tried before a jury, absent waiver by the parties, from claims and issues that may be heard by a judge alone. It only governs federal civil courts and has no application to civil courts set up by the states when those courts are hearing only disputes of state law. It's merely declaratory of the common law. It says, in suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. How does this not apply to the states when it's a suit at common law. This is the trickery. This is the lie. And then they're trying to say, well, it's continuing the practice of the common law, distinguishing civil claims, which must be tried before a jury. No. It was the criminal that required before a jury. Oh, as in criminal cases. In civil cases, we have the right to a trial by jury. But see, notice that the 7th is just after the 6th. It says, in all criminal prosecutions. But it's still going to be common law. Right? It's all common law. It has to be. Because that's the only law. What other laws are supposed to be? Oh, that's right. What are the lesser courts? You mean inferior courts. There's no such thing as a lesser court. It would be an inferior. It's inferior to the superior Supreme Court because it says it's the judicial power vested here. But see, that's the thing. We're already supposed to have our common law courts. The common law courts are still supposed to be there before even the Constitution. Because again, the Constitution is the instrument of the government. We already have the common law. But, you know, they try to say, well, the 14th Amendment makes the Bill of Rights applicable to the states. Really? Let's read the 9th and the 10th again. The enumeration in the Constitution, of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage other rights retained by the people. The enumeration in the Constitution. That's because this particular Bill of Rights was added to the Constitution. And they're literally trying to deny these rights here by saying, oh, well, these rights don't apply to the states. Except for buying through the 14th Amendment. Hogwash. That's that American Jurisprudence, Volume 16, Constitutional Law, Section 100, which would be this one. Where it talks about even without the benefit of declaration that they are self-executing, constitutional provisions and bills of rights, and those merely declaratory of the common law, are usually considered self-executing, as are provisions which specifically prohibit particular conduct. Oh, that's right. this particular Bill of Rights is just merely declaratory of the common law. Why do they have to keep going back to the common law and find the rule of law when it comes to these rights? Why is that? Why do they keep going to Blackstone's Commentaries on the Law of England? Imagine that. What's going on? Yeah, absolutely, Diesel D's. Yeah, it would be quite the chaos for employees to interpret their employment contract. Wouldn't it? Create quite the chaos. Wendy, what does affirmation mean exactly? So you are affirming that you are to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Where some people will say, well, we're not supposed to take oaths, that's my religious blah, blah, blah. But when you read the Bible on taking the oath, least you be subject to it or whatever, judged. That's the reason why we require them to take an oath, so they can be judged. All political power is inherent in the people, Karen. All of it. We have the right to alter, reform, or abolish anything at any time we deem it necessary. So when are the people going to come together and do that? I mean, that's the biggest problem we have, is getting the people to come together and stand together. And then the 10th, of course, the 10th. Now this blows it all out of the water, aside from the 9th saying this Constitution, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. So because it says or to the people, and then when we look at the state constitution, every state constitution should have the same clause in its Declaration of Rights declaring the law that all political power is inherent in the people. So in other words, the government has no power unless it's delegated through the Constitution. By and through the Constitution. Government is instituted for their equal protection and benefit, and they have the right to alter, reform, or abolish the same whenever they may deem it necessary. Okay, I mean, clear and plain language there. All policy-making power is inherent in the people. Government only has the powers that are delegated by and through the Constitution. That's just how it works. In other words, they have no power unless we give it to them. Well, the Constitution doesn't say that we can't. It doesn't say that you can. Again, can you imagine how many pages, how long would a Constitution be if we had to enumerate all the things that they can't do? Like in my case, saying, oh, well, citing the 10th Amendment, yep. It doesn't say that we can't require you to register your car. Yeah, it does. These are those unalienable rights of man in the Declaration of Independence. That all men are by nature free and equal and have certain unalienable rights, among which are enjoying, defending life and liberty, acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, pursuing happiness and securing safety. Yeah, right there. Life, liberty, and property. That's the prohibition. You have no authority over our private property, over our liberty, over our lives, over our pursuing happiness, or securing our own safety. In other words, government isn't there to secure our safety. We do. We secure our safety. But it's for your own safety. These vaccines or everything and this and that, and no. That's not what government was instituted for. And this is a right and power retained by the people. When we read Blackstone's commentaries on the laws of England about the laws of nature, and in the introduction there, as he elucidates the three primary absolute rights of personal security, personal liberty, and private property. But before that, he talks about free will. Because God gave us that by nature, we are free. Free to choose our own happiness, our will. Plain and simple. We're free. As opposed to slaves. And this is by nature. So, when they try to tell me that, well, it doesn't say that we can, yes, it does. And not only that, when we look at the preamble itself, that prohibits it right from the get-go. We, the people of the state of Idaho, grateful to Almighty God for our freedom to secure its blessings and promote our common welfare, to establish this Constitution. That's prohibited right there. We're grateful to Almighty God for our rights. Right? Isn't that what that means? Question out on YouTube, Kayland IX8OP. Is there a distinction between the people and free inhabitant? Go and watch, was it last Monday or the Monday before, when I dug into the Law of Nations again on citizens and inhabitants and the Articles of Confederation, the free inhabitants, the free citizens. Yes, people have political power. Inhabitants do not have political rights. But as a different kind of citizen, we have political rights. That's the people. So we have inhabitants, we have the people, and then we have public servants as the citizens. That is Book 1, Chapter 19, Section 212 and 213. Very, very self-explanatory. Then go read the Articles of Confederation and grasp the concept of a difference between the inhabitant, the people, and a citizen. Now, the people are a citizen, but it's a lowercase c. The proper noun is the people. Most certainly not an American state national. We're called the people. The people are the ones that have the political power. I mean, even the 10th Amendment. Powers not down in the United States nor prohibited by the states are reserved to the states or to the people. The 4th Amendment. The right of the people. The right of the people to be secure in their papers, their persons, houses, papers, and effects. The 2nd Amendment. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Thank you, Amundsen. It was last Monday, wasn't it, that I went over that. So, again, it's the people. The people, the people, the people. You know, it's funny because in my court case there, they always like to say, the right of the citizen to be secure. It's not citizen. You're trying to gain personal jurisdiction. No, it's the right of the people. I'm one of the people. Don't touch me there. You're trespassing on my property. It's a common law trespass. Right, Amundsen, the anchor baby issue? That solves the anchor baby issue right there in the Law of Nations. They will not, the children born of a father that is not here, no. They follow the conditions of the father. Just because they're born here does not make them an American. No matter where you're born. Wherever the father is from, that's where the children are from. Oh, Mark, the Founders Bible, that's well before 1890 that our founders called it a Christian nation. Oh, you're saying that they created the Founders Bible in 1890. Gotcha. Yep. Good job, Karen. Town. In 1921, Indiana's Constitution passed a law allowing only citizens may vote. It's already the common law. And again, it's the people that have the right. And see, the common law. See, that, again, 1921, we're already well into the code. But trying to alter the fundamental law, the common law. See, the common law says that the legislature has the authority to set the time and the place of holding elections. The common law dictates how it's done, which is everybody's supposed to show up. You're handed a ballot. You cast your ballot. The ballots are counted there on the spot, and the results are announced there, right there on the spot, and the sheriff is supposed to take whoever the winners are and take them and the ballots, right? And the ballots right there, and deliver them. But see, they've assumed a power that they do not have. That's the trickery, folks. You know, we're so far dumbed down, so far away from the law. We've all been taught wrong. Been in one big huge lie. Nobody knows the truth because nobody reads it. Which is why I'm here. Because I do. I do read. A lot of reading. And I've done a crap ton of reading since 1995. On the history of law. Man. And those in like Wednesday night workshop and those that have been following me here for years I know some stuff, you know, because I read it. And starting to have some success in cases here when people actually listen and follow and, you know, do what's necessary and proper to effectively defend themselves. You know, it can be done. Right, Mark? You think California is still counting? Yeah. Yeah. So, anywho, folks, I want to thank everybody for being here. For thank all my followers. Make sure you like, follow, and share. Get this stuff out there. I don't know why I've been out here for so long and I have very little followers in comparison. I mean, there's people out there that get a million subscribers, followers, whatever, in like just a couple of days. I've been out here for, gosh, what's it going on now? 10 years, hasn't it? 2017 when I started on Facebook doing lives. A year and a half on Blog Talk Radio before that. Comment out here on YouTube. Man, I can't even imagine how long I've studied. I'm 6 years in and still feel like first grade or second grade there. I hear you. All right, folks. So links are down in the description there. If you'd like to help support, buy me a coffee or go over there on Patreon. Tier 1, Tier 2, $5, $10 a month just to help support. Help pay the bills here. Keep the shows going. Tier 3 is to get in on Wednesday night workshops. And Tier 4 is for those needing some one-on-one time with me. All of that stuff is done through Patreon, not through emails and you know, outside of Patreon. So be very understanding about when you sign up on Patreon that it's through Patreon. And our classes are through Zoom and our meetings are through Zoom. So one-on-one meetings are through Zoom for the most part. Actually had a gentleman who's one of my subscribers on Tier 4 right now, who actually came through town, and for our one-on-one meeting, we actually met at my office. I was like, yeah, absolutely. I love meeting one-on-one in person. I prefer that. But to make it so that people who live in different states and all over, the United States of America here, yeah, it's kind of hard to meet in person. So the digital realm thing has really helped a lot of us. So well, good for you, Karen, Mark. Some of you guys are doing the reading and the research too. So very happy to see that some of you are reading and learning, and like Diesel D's over there, he's kicked their butt a couple of times. Right? Antown out here on Facebook says, that is wonderful. Just don't go out to lunch at the local In-N-Out burger joint. Yeah, that's okay. I've tried the In-N-Out burger joint a couple of times, and it's gross to me. That's some gross food, man. But yeah, the whole shooting there that happened here locally, I don't know if I brought that up yet or not. But yeah, we had a shooting local here, just right up the hill from my house, actually, at the In-N-Out burger. Some kid just started shooting people. So this is why I keep telling people, watch your surroundings, know your surroundings, not just know your surroundings, but as in know your surroundings as in case something like that happens, where do you go? What's your exit strategy? Know where to leave to get out of the line of fire. That's what I mean by know your surroundings. And watch your six, that's watch your back. But yeah, definitely need to pay attention out there, which is part of the reason why I do not go out much anymore. Like, I've turned into a hermit here at home. We're going camping, which probably be next week, if I can swing it. My brother and I will go camping next week, take the dirt bikes up and go camping and dirt biking. Try to get out of this smoke. We're going to go up to a very tippy top of the mountain there that's just above 7,000 and see if we can't get above the smoke and get a reprieve from all this smoke. But much love, everybody. Thank you to all my followers and supporters. Thank you for all your kind words. Much love, everybody. God bless, and we'll see you for sure next Monday night, unless it's like we're packing up to leave Tuesday morning. But I'll let people know for sure. And more than likely Wednesday night workshop next week won't be happening. So just to kind of put that out there tentatively right now. But I'll be speaking with you folks Wednesday night. All right. So much love, everybody. God bless.